Okay, so today we're going deep on Compassionate Capitalism. It's a book by Rich DeVos, one of the co-founders of Amway.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I bet you're thinking, ugh, another business book, right?
Right.
But this one really digs into something that I know you've been interested in,
Okay.
which is how businesses can make a real difference,
Yeah.
a positive impact on the world.
Yeah, that's a hot topic these days for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially, I think, with all the, kind of distrust of corporations.
Yeah.
I think people are really looking for businesses to step up and sort of be a force for good.
Absolutely. And DeVos really gets into that in this book. And so today what we want to do is we really want to kind of unpack this whole idea of compassionate capitalism.
Yeah.
And figure out, is this really a workable model for businesses today?
Right.
Or is this, it's just a bunch of nice sounding ideas?
Yeah, is it just a bunch of fluffy, feel-good stuff that sounds good on paper but doesn't really work in the real world?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So DeVos, he starts off by actually defining compassionate capitalism.
Okay.
And he says that it's this balance between profit and responsibility to people.
Okay.
It's about collaboration. It's about pursuing growth, but growth that's purposeful.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting there is that he's not just talking about, traditional philanthropy,
Right.
like just writing a check to a charity.
Right.
It's really about kind of a fundamental shift in how businesses operate and how they think about their role in society.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not just window dressing.
Exactly.
It's like really baked into the DNA of the business.
Yeah, it's like a different way of thinking about business itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that he talks about is this idea of putting people before profits.
Mm.
Right. And that can sound kind of, pie in the sky.
Right.
Like how do you
Yeah.
really do that in a practical way?
Yeah, it sounds great in a motivational poster or something, but
exactly.
how does it actually play out in a business that needs to make money to survive?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how, what are some examples, like how would a business actually put that into practice?
Well, I think one way to think about it is, let's say a company has to make a decision.
Okay.
Do they maximize their profits this quarter by, maybe cutting some corners or not investing in something?
Right.
Or do they, invest in their employees, invest in training, invest in something that's maybe going to have a longer term payoff?
Right.
A compassionate capitalist would say, okay, we're going to prioritize the well-being of our employees, even if it means maybe a little bit less profit in the short term.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking about building a sustainable business that benefits everyone.
Right. It's a long game.
Exactly.
Not just the quick buck.
It's not about the quick win. It's about building something that's going to last.
Yeah. Yeah. And that actually leads into another concept that DeVos talks about, which is servant leadership.
Oh.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah. Yeah. It's this idea that leaders should be focused on serving others.
Right.
Right. So instead of being the one who's always barking orders and telling everyone what to do,
Yeah.
it's really about empowering people, helping them grow, creating an environment where everyone can thrive.
It's more like a coach
Yeah, like a coach.
than a dictator.
Exactly. It's about helping people reach their full potential.
Yeah. Yeah. And so DeVos, he actually talks a lot about this idea of empowerment.
Yeah.
Right. And he actually uses Amway as an example a lot.
Right.
Because their whole business model is built around this idea of giving people the opportunity to kind of be their own boss.
Yeah.
Set their own goals, build their own business.
Right. They're all about entrepreneurship
Yeah.
and sort of, giving people the tools to succeed.
Yeah. But it does make you wonder, right?
Yeah.
Like how much of that is really empowerment and how much of it is, beneficial mainly to Amway.
Right. Right. It's a question worth asking.
Yeah.
Right.
Is this model genuinely empowering people or is it primarily benefiting the companies?
Yeah.
It's not always a clear-cut answer.
Right. Exactly. And another thing that DeVos is really passionate about is the idea of community impact.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he believes that businesses have a responsibility to give back to the communities where they operate.
Yeah, and this is an interesting one, right?
Yeah.
Because how do you balance the need to generate profit
Right.
with this idea of really genuinely engaging with the community and making a positive impact?
Right. Right. Are there any examples that you can think of companies that do this well?
Well, a company that often comes up in these conversations is Patagonia.
Yeah.
They're very well known for their environmental activism.
Right. Yeah.
And they're really putting their money where their mouth is in terms of supporting environmental causes.
Right.
But it's always that question.
Are they doing this out of a genuine desire to make a difference?
Right.
Or is this also a really savvy marketing strategy?
Right. Yeah, because it's good for business.
Right. Exactly.
To be seen as doing good.
Exactly. So it's hard to sometimes disentangle those two things.
Yeah, yeah. And Devos, he points to Amway's philanthropic efforts as a model.
Right, right. They're very involved in a lot of charitable work.
Right.
But again, it's always good to kind of, ask those critical questions.
Yeah.
What's the motivation here?
Right.
Is it truly altruistic, or is there a business benefit to this as well?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the challenge for compassionate capitalism, right?
Yeah.
Is this how do you prove that it's genuine?
Right.
That you're not just using it as a marketing ploy.
Yeah, I think transparency is really important.
Yeah.
Companies need to be open about their practices. They need to be willing to answer tough questions.
Yeah, like show their work.
Exactly.
Like let people see behind the curtain.
Yeah, because people can smell a phony a mile away.
Yeah, they can. So where do you think compassionate capitalism fits in today's world?
Well, I think, more and more people are craving authenticity.
Yeah.
They want to support businesses that align with their values.
Yeah.
And I think compassionate capitalism really speaks to that.
Yeah.
It's about building businesses that are good for people, good for the planet, and good for profit.
Yeah, it's kind of a triple bottom line approach.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So as we wrap up our deep dive today on compassionate capitalism, I'd love to hear from you. What does this idea mean to you?
Yeah, what resonates with you? What are some businesses that you think are doing this well?
Yeah.
And how can you maybe even apply some of these principles in your own life or in your own work?
Yeah, and maybe this has even inspired you to check out Devo's book and learn more about compassionate capitalism. So that's it for today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Bye.